Welcome, beautiful people, to the Soul Ashraya podcast, a weekly bhakti podcast. We will seek the shelter and wisdom of our dear Lord Krishna with Shastra, prayer, and conversation. I'm your host, good old Bhakti Jake. I'm joined with my good friend, Balaram Shakti Das, who is currently on the road with the Rath Yatra crew, and they're in Seattle right now. He's joining us live from Seattle for the Seattle Rath Yatra. I mean, this is exciting. I'm so excited. He's on the road. He is touring with the not the circus, not the circus, although you might think it is. It is not. It is what are they called, Balaram? The
Festival,
I'm so sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
the Festival of India.
Okay. Okay. The Festival of India. My man is driving the truck for the Festival of India.
Yeah, if you see a big yellow truck that looks like that, there might be a very exciting festival in your town.
That is exciting. That is
Or
very exciting.
it should say, "Follow me for good times." In the back.
It should. It really should. Follow me for transcendental enlightenment. It'll that'll go really good when you're driving through Arkansas. They'll love that. It'll be like bullet holes. I'm sorry, I shouldn't pick on Arkansas people. My mom is from Texas, so sorry. But anyway, sorry. So you are driving the truck for the festival of India. Did you need like did you have to do some kind of special classes for that to drive the truck, or was it just
Yeah,
like
but that's what I have been doing the last couple months.
right, right? So so you can you can chant your japa while you're driving the truck, right?
Um,
Because you're certified.
according to state law, yes.
All right.
According to other things, that might not be the best idea.
You're certified by the state and by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to drive the truck and chant your japa at the same time. And you'll be like floating. You'll be like it'll be like a vamana. You'll be like floating through the country, across the countryside in your big yellow truck. Hare Krishna. Transcendental. I'm sorry. I'm in a weird mood.
Like, yeah, just here. But
I'm in a good mood, but I'm just so excited that you're on the road doing that. That to me, that's like a big
yeah,
deal. That's like a major thing, you know. That's like
yeah,
living the dream stuff, you know.
yeah, yeah. It's an incredible opportunity. You know, you get to see temples all over the country and experience. Sorry, are you able to hear that sound? I'll turn that off.
Yeah,
Experience festivals, you know, Rath Yatra festivals, you know, throughout the season.
yeah,
Meet buddies. It'll expand your whole worldview. What's you know, what's your spiritual perspective. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So we're gonna see you in Philadelphia, right? In a couple of weeks, 3 weeks.
yeah. The tour ends in Philly in 3 weeks from now.
Yeah, I'm definitely very excited to go to that. Definitely very excited for that one. That's gonna be a good one for sure.
Always, yeah, one of the best times of the
Yeah.
year.
Hopefully, Bhakti or Bhakta Marga will be there the walking monk, and I can finally meet him.
Don't think I've ever seen him there.
Oh,
Maybe you should just call him since you don't know him so well and ask him, personal requests to go to Philly.
I'd like to get him on the show.
That's a great idea. Yeah. I can ask him. I'll send him a message.
Yeah. See if you can
Yeah.
get him on the show. That would be
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah, I think he would like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if we were doing that. No, I guess, yeah, we did. We started this a couple months after I got back.
Yeah.
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 So I met him in Maya before.
Yeah.
And Vrindavan. Saw him there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah,
Good to have him.
he's amazing. Yeah.
He's a really good dancer.
I don't know if
I
I've
can dance, but he's a real good dancer.
Cool.
He's the walking monk. He must be good at dancing.
Okay.
All right, Prabhu, let us say our prayers and dive into the word. How does that sound?
That
At
sounds
first.
great.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
do that.
Okay.
I am going to screen share our prayers for everybody in the viewing audience. But before I do that, I am going to, yes, I'm just going to go for it like that. Yes. And then we do this. And then
All right.
that.
All right, I'll kick this off. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare.
All right. All right. We are in the Krishna book. And I will bring up where we left off. If you are brand new to the show and this is the first episode you happen to see, the whole show is based on us reading the Krishna book, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are right now, if you have this copy, on page 28, which is kind of the end of chapter 2. And Prabhu, do you want to maybe sum up? Do you remember where we left off? I know where we're starting from today, but we're getting into some really good stuff.
Yeah. We're in the middle of the prayers by the demigods for Lord Krishna in the womb. And as we've been discussing, the demigods, which maybe just one more step back.
Mhm.
When we say demigods, we're referring to higher beings in the material universe. It's kind of, I guess, funny. Last night we went to a program here in Seattle, and it was like a public program, for people that are interested in spiritual life or whatever. I'm not sure what it was even titled or advertised as. But bhakti yoga, kirtan, right? And so you get a whole bunch of different people there, and um, some some people were there. It was their first exposure to anything Krishna consciousness, and there was this one girl there who, after the program, went up to Agnidev Prabhu, who was leading the program, and was obviously like her face, face is the index of the mind, right? And it was obviously pained, and she was, putting herself in front of a saint, this very saintly man, right, disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and seeking, something. She didn't know exactly what, but that's the process, to get mercy. You put yourself at the feet of great souls. So anyway, I kind of ran into her after that, and it's like, well, let me try to say a few things. um I wanted to encourage her to read Prabhupada's books. I didn't see any there, which was a little surprising. Well, actually, it was like, I think they were just renting the space out from like a yoga studio or something. But um anyway, she started asking me some questions, and she started with like, "Do you believe in God?" I think I was like saying something. She just interjected. It's like, okay, yes, absolutely. And before I could say anything else, she kind of like shot a couple others, and it kind of started leaning into more of a challenging mood. Just like, all right, well, what are you actually going to be able to understand if you're um, asking in this way? So I'm bringing this up because this is very instructive. She asked about, like, what about um, Zeus? Do you like? And I was like, yeah, that's a real personality, right? It's not God. Um, she's like, I forget like how she was saying this, but it's like, aren't they the gods? I was like, well, yeah, they're demigods. So isn't that God? Or isn't that like what God is? Is so it's like, no, that's not God. So there's a misunderstanding. I wasn't thinking like that. But when it's only when you talk to other people that you're able to kind of expand your perspective of like how other people see things, right? Because to me, I've been in this movement for so long, it's like, when I say demigod, I know what I mean.
Right.
But most people out there probably don't really know what's being referred to. What to speak of even God? Most people don't really know what we're talking about. And then there's this idea of like my God versus your God. It's like, no, there can only be one God.
Yeah.
There's only one source of consciousness. We're all living entities, of one world, one life. you know we all breathe the same air. It's not like as soon as you cross the border into Canada, you have to register yourself to breathe the air there. It's so the distinctions, the delineations, the demarcations have been created by us. We're the ones that say this is our country, that's your country. This is our God, that's your God.
Yeah.
God is one. And there's that means the way to realize him is one. There may be many different paths, but it's all the same in that you're discovering the supreme soul, supreme consciousness.
Yeah.
So a demigod. So this girl was very confused, and you could see just very confused soul. And so the two things in the story. First is who are demigods. The second is how do we inquire? How do we gain knowledge? How do we clarify our confusion? She had enough sense to just sit herself in front of this sadhu, but she didn't know like what to do with her mind as far as like making inquiry and kind of like advancing intellectually, you know, uh, kind of just like furthering yourself. And like I was contemplating like what could we do for this person? It's like there's not a whole lot, and that's kind of sad. But it's almost just like here, eat this prasad, this blessed food. Just eat this food, and like eventually, by and by. Um, and that's one thing that Agni Dev said to her. It's like it's a gradual process. Gradually, our consciousness becomes clarified by the chanting of the holy names, right? Like I met someone, not to go too much on tangents, but I met someone the other night, just this homeless girl at Walmart. You'll meet the strangest people at Walmart, right? I
People
met
at
the girl,
Walmart.
like she was just very lost and scared. She was very scared. She didn't want to go back outside, back into the shadows, middle of the night. Younger, like early 20s, and malnourished.
Mm.
It was heartbreaking. And she like, we were just going in the store, and I was like, what is it that you want, or what can I give you? And she said, Jake, she said advice. She wanted advice. I was like, well, come with me. And I walked in the store with her. And, do you believe in God? Eventually she asked. And it's like, yeah. So she was very sincere. She had all qualifications, but there was practically nothing I could do except give her some prasad and teach her the Maha Mantra. I didn't even think to find a pen to write it down for her. We didn't have any cards. I could have just written it out. I wasn't thinking. Anyway, I gave her a card that says Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. And I was like, these words right here, this is the prayer. This is how you can connect to God at any moment.
Mm.
Please remember this. She had just done some drugs earlier, and I don't know how much earlier in the day. So, but something touched her heart. I could see her face even was like shifting. It was like there was like a contortion that was there, like how do you say when it's like not consciously involuntary? It was like some involuntary things, but it like went into that, and then like found it was like a deeper part of her, like connected with the love I was shining on her. And that was really beautiful. And then it's like, and there she goes back into the abyss, and Hare Krishna. But we told her about the temple. We're like, please go here, this place here. He'll give you food. But it's like, we don't have a homeless shelter. we can't take all these people in. Prabhupada took these people in, our movement should be doing that, but it's just really sad. So it's like, we want to do everything we can, but at a certain point, it's like, well, we pray for, I prayed intensely for her, but God will protect. He will protect, he won't abandon you, but God also helps those who help themselves. So the demigods are
Yes.
teaching us how to help ourselves. Yeah, it was there. Don't worry.
I was like, I was gonna do it too. I was like, anyway. I mean,
So
not to, I don't want to, that's a great story. I'm sure you're going to run into that on the road. Anyone who travels across the USA, you're going to encounter wild things,
yeah.
usually at Walmart.
You,
If you're not the kind of person, like if you're not playing in a band and touring, you know, so you're not going to be in like clubs and bars and stuff like that. So like for a normal person who's not in a band or touring, you're going to meet people at Walmart who are have come from all kinds of situations.
you
And
could maybe even meet my guru. My guru was telling on the other end of the spectrum, there are, what country were they from? I think like Eastern European girls. Maybe guys were with them as well, but all these devotees, particularly the girls from this foreign country, yeah, maybe like Poland, because they're with Andrew Swami, and Maharaj asked them, it's like, when we go to America, maybe it was a hypothetical, but what is the one thing in America that you want to see? He's like, okay, there's all of these, sites and stuff, uh, cool things about America. Like, what do you want to see? They discussed, and the consensus was we want to go to Walmart.
yeah,
Because we've heard, we don't know if it's true, but we've heard they have like dozens of selection, like hundreds of selections, for everything. Like
yeah,
someone saying like, what's, this, they're looking at coffee makers, like, this is a coffee maker? Yes, that's a coffee. All of these are coffee maker, there's, because all different brands, they're all coffee makers. Yeah, they are. They're just different, tiny little different, because they're used to, you have one coffee maker in a store, you have one pot, you have one cup.
yeah.
I shouldn't. I don't know why I'm laughing. It's
Oh,
just the innocence. It's
yeah,
fun.
it's a part of like the. I guess that's interesting that they wanted to go to Walmart because that's
So,
really like the
so
opposite
they,
of the
yeah,
U.S.
they did go to Walmart, and they went every day. Every day they're in town in America, they went to Walmart every day and just up and down the aisles. Oh,
I'm sure if you came from an Eastern European country, Walmart would blow your mind. I'm positive, you know. I mean, if you came from anywhere way out east, out in Europe, I'm sure Walmart, you'd just be walking around like, where am I? Like, what is this? Because like it is so true. Like they do not have that kind of thing. Like they got Tesco in Britain, they got Aldi in Germany, and they have like whatever other name brand of store in Eastern Europe. They have something, I'm sure, but none of these are like these huge like megaplexes that Walmart is. I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's amazing. It's amazing that Walmart can even keep on going with the way Amazon is now. It's amazing that Walmart is still just steaming
Well,
ahead.
you have to have a store. You have to have a store, like neighborhood store, to just run to. Because Amazon is going to be a day at least till
Yeah.
you know. It's there.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, you
Yeah.
might find
Anyway.
some very transcendental, beautiful people look like they're from another planet just wandering around Walmart.
Yes. Say Hare Krishna.
Just say hi to Krishna. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah. So okay. So who are the demigods? Is the first point. Who are the demigods? The demigod. There. It's not like there's different gods and they're all competing, and it's a my God versus your God thing. No, there is God, and then there are his administrators. So when God creates this material universe, he is not so interested in personally managing all of its affairs because it's very mundane, you know? And so he empowers certain souls to run all the different facets of administration. So there's different tiers of this universe. There's the human plane. We're right around the middle tier of the universe, right? So there's more advanced strata of consciousness, and there's less advanced strata of consciousness. And we can experience this even just within our little, worlds here on this planet. There's ants crawling around next to me, and there's like super geniuses in other places in the world, right? So the demigods are higher living entities who are able to, or just they're more conscious, right? So that means they're more conscious of God, right? Whereas we were not so aware of God. But you become more conscious, you obviously are coming closer to God. So, because he is the source of consciousness. So the demigods, they're also, their role is also to teach us or to lead us in the path of righteousness, right? So they're saying these prayers, and these prayers are kind of taking us, they're helping us kind of tune in our consciousness, right? So we've discussed this a little bit, to understand the nature of this world's, the soul and soul's relationship with God. And that's helping, because that's helping them align, we can kind of follow in their footsteps. Okay.
Yeah. They usually have like some kind of superpower too, right? Like they can fly, they can like stuff like that, right? Or no? Am I way off on that one? Don't
Shoot
they?
spider webs out of their
Yeah,
wrist.
right? Something like that, right?
Well, Zeus
Whoa.
being demigod, that's his name is Indra in Sanskrit, and he's the god of thunder and rain. So you could say a superpower is lightning, right?
Oh, that's the same guy.
He certainly correlates. He correspond. That would be his corresponding demigod. Whether I'm not that we say everything from the Greek canon of mythology is real just because he's probably the same person. We we don't know what kind of authority their mythos has. Probably, maybe none, maybe none, but maybe some, probably some originally. Otherwise, where would those characters come from? Carl Jung would say that's just coming from the collective unconscious. There's no actual substantive reality to them. They're just projections of the inner workings of our own mind, which is true. It's like also true because all the demigods kind of exist within us as well. I don't know if I could say all. I don't know if that's a
Viking
but
thing.
do exist.
I thought Zeus was a Viking thing.
No, it's Greek.
Oh, Vikings, don't they have a guy that throws thunderbolts?
That's like Thor.
Oh yeah, that's right. See,
Thor.
superheroes. Ha! You brought it right around.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Anyway.
Yeah, there's some truth to all of it.
Yes.
We just don't really know how to understand it. Okay, is this a good introduction to where we're at?
That was an amazing introduction. That was definitely Very good. I am going right back to the text right
Yes.
now. Here we go. Yes. We are beginning at our dear lotus-eyed Lord. Do you want me to read or do you want to read, Prabhu?
I'll read. I'll start us off. Our dear lotus-eyed Lord, you are the source of pure goodness. There are many great sages who simply by samadhi or transcendentally meditating upon your lotus feet and thus being absorbed in your thought have easily transformed the great ocean of nescience created by the material nature into no more than the water in a calf's hoof prints. We'll explain that. That was kind of a lot. The purpose of meditation is to focus the mind upon the personality of Godhead, beginning from his lotus feet. Simply by meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord, great sages cross over this vast ocean of material existence without difficulty. Okay, just kidding. Prabhupada just explained that. Does that make sense? So there's two things. Well, there's a couple things that they're saying here. He's the source of pure goodness. So there's the material modes of nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. The Lord is the source of pure goodness. So, okay, this is a really good point that I'll just briefly get into because there are two other really big points here Prabhupada's discussing more of. That, so His Grace Padmanayam Prabhu was here, not here, was in Tucson, where I was this past week. He is the director of the Mayapur Institute in Mayapur. That's like the biggest educational institute in ISKCON. So he's very advanced soul. He was one of my personal teachers there. And highly recommend looking up his videos from the Tucson community. His class at the Krishna Cove on Thursday was absolutely brilliant. It was one of the best breakdowns of Krishna conscious philosophy I've ever heard. Maybe I'll put a link on this video. And in it, because he started by saying, you know, what is everyone looking? I mean, we could take a whole hour just like recapping his major points. But you know, everyone's looking for happiness, right? It's like that we can universally agree, no matter what your philosophy, religion, dogma, whatever, everyone is, even the, you know, animals and insects, they're all looking for pleasure. So the problem is we don't know where to look for happiness, right? We're looking in the material energy, material nature. And there may be, it's debatable whether there's even happiness here. Some people say there's no happiness here. Others say the only happiness is here, right? And some people in between. So let's just say there is happiness here, but it's very minute compared to the desire of the soul, which is infinite. We desire eternal happiness, unending, limitless happiness, right? Or is that just me?
No, that's what you know, that's why people do the things that they do. That's why we are humans having this experience on this planet is you know, where once you mature and are an adult, you're like, what can I do to have fun? You know, it's like that's kind of your whole thing, I guess, you know. So yeah, no, you're right on. You're right on with that one, Prabhu.
Okay, good. So we look in this material world and it's qualified by these three modes. And so if we look into things in the mode of goodness for happiness, we'll get happiness in the mode of goodness, which is what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that which at first is like poison, but in the end is like nectar, that's happiness in the mode of goodness. If we look into things in the mode of passion, what at first seems like nectar, but in the end turns out to be poison, that is happiness in the mode of passion. And if we look into things in the mode of ignorance, it is delusion from beginning to end, right? And just terrible, terrible, no good time, right? Bewilderment and
That's when
suffering.
you find yourself rolling through Walmart at 2 o'clock in the morning, trying to hide from the shadows.
Yeah, maybe a little vomit on your shirt.
Oh, I've been there. We've all been there. We've all been there. Blood. Whose blood is this?
Oh gosh. Okay.
Being real.
So in the mode of goodness, the quality is that it actually gives you happiness, but you have to move through some austerity. There's like a threshold or a membrane of austerity, a little hard work that you have to put in, but then it pays off. That's like delayed gratification. Whereas mode of passion, that's instant gratification. You get your fix, but the actual nature of the substance is not to give you happiness. It's actually more to give you misery. But on the outside, the surface, it looks like this is gonna be great. Right. So these things, the point is, when we connect with these things, we take on the qualities thereof. Right. So we're connecting, and how we do that, this is a brilliant point that he made, is like how do you get something in this world? Like, let's say any of these modes, you want some happiness in the mode of passion. You go to the bar. Like, what do you exchange for that experience? Right? You exchange money, right? You give him some money. Where does that money come from? Well, from your employer. You got paid. What did you get paid for? Work. Okay, well, what is involved with you working? Well, you have to give of yourself, right? So you can't get anything unless you give. So you are literally, in order to get that experience in the bar, you're giving yourself, right? You have invested a certain amount of yourself, your energy, your time, your work, your labor, right? Your consciousness. Your consciousness has to enter into the mode associated with that work. And then you get some energy, some currency, and then you can exchange that for your pleasure, right? So you're giving yourself to this thing,
quote unquote,
right? And then you get the modes associated with that thing. But that thing is not eternal, and so it can't satisfy you. It just keeps you in these lower modes. So what then is God? God is that eternal object, that eternal beloved, with whom we can reciprocate eternally, limitlessly, and derive unlimited, ever expanding bliss, right? And that is a mode of pure goodness. So if we want goodness that is not corrupted at all by the other modes, which material goodness is, then we have to connect with God. And when we become fully expert in 24/7, constantly, ahaitukam apratihata, meaning without ulterior motive and without interruption, connecting with God, then our life becomes perfect. So that is what is meant by the source of pure goodness, that pure goodness is emanating from him. And so if we connect with that source, we get pure goodness. We get all the qualities of pure goodness, all virtues, all superpowers of the demigods are included in that. And that is not a joke. It's stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, not those exact words. But it says all the qualities of all of the demigods gradually become manifest in the person of a devotee, a pure, unalloyed devotee. Whereas one who is not worshiping the Lord, who is not connecting with this source, he's plugged into these material lower sources that are faulty, what good qualities can be seen? Oh, lost Jake there. Okay, I'll move into, I'll just keep us moving here. So the other 2 points are Samadhi and the calf's hoof print. So Prabhupada is very succinct here in explaining what is Samadhi, because a lot of us have heard this term. If you've ever been to a yoga class, you've probably heard the term Samadhi. That is the 8th limb of the Ashtanga yoga system, right? So that's seen as the goal for any yogi, right? Following Patanjali's system, which is very ubiquitous. That the goal is Samadhi, which they have this kind of ambiguous definition of, just like, well, your consciousness becomes absorbed, like fully absorbed, you know. Well, what is it absorbed in? Well, you know, oneness, you know, they'll say kaivalya. They don't know what that even means. So, because they don't read Bhagavad Gita, which is surprising. It's like, it's yoga. I think you would read Bhagavad Gita. But most people that I've talked to that do like the yoga class thing, they've never read Bhagavad Gita. Their teachers have never read Bhagavad Gita. Like even Sadhguru, he doesn't read Bhagavad Gita. So, well, where do you get this stuff? You know? So those kind of, you know, gurus, self-made gurus, are not spiritual authorities. Anyway, Prabhupada is speaking from the highest authority, that the purpose of meditation is to focus the mind upon the personality of Godhead, beginning from his lotus feet. So Samadhi, real Samadhi, is meditation on the feet of God. Right? And that will get you completely absorbed. Absorbed in what? So the demigods are saying, thus being absorbed in your thought of you. Right? So become absorbed in the thoughts of God, not just absorbed in some void. It's like, you know, in a suspended state of, you know, rapture, some kind of ecstasy that is just passive by nature. No, you should be absorbed in something that pertains to you as a living being. Living being means you're active, mean you have life, not just like you're frozen. It's like if you know, if we, let's say, you know, here with Rebecca, and well, let's take Jake for example. Jake has entered into Samadhi. Our connection with him got dropped. Oh, there he is. Is that you?
Yeah.
Okay, he's back. Just had a little bit of.
There's a branch fell on my internet cable.
No.
Yeah, it's super windy here today, and a branch fell on the cable. It's just hanging on the cable right now. It's like trapped on it, you know. So
That's
I might get dropped again. I don't know. We'll see.
all right. Well, if you do, we're using you as a good example of this impersonal concept of Samadhi, where you just,
all right.
Impersonalist, the general yogi sees Samadhi as if, like, all right, the 3 of us are having a little sangha right now. If one of us just drops out of external consciousness, you know, like Jake's video got cut. Like he's not there anymore. You poke Jake, nothing happens, right? You say, Jake, wasn't that a funny joke? And he just has this blank expression on his face. I was like, okay, guess I'll leave now. Like, right, we can't have any interaction, right? There's no kind of purpose to the life there. So as like Kirtaneshwar was saying last week, you know, what's the purpose of realizing the super soul if there's no devotion, if there's no if there's no active cultivation of your life, it's just, oh, okay, so you're seeing God, but you're not doing anything. What's the point? So I think a lot of people have this concept of religion. Like, okay, you're trying to see God. What's the point? How does that pertain to my day-to-day experience of like I have down to earth, you know, problems, and how is that a solution? So just saying, no, Samadhi, you just kind of pull out and you experience that you're one with the universe. What's the point? I already know I'm one with the universe. What is the point? Right? So this is bhakti. Bhakti begins at the end of where this yoga path leads you. Of you're not the body, you're one with everything. I already know that. Like, where do I go from there? You can't tell me that, right? So where you go, where samadhi is practically useful is if the object of your meditation is practical. Object of your meditation should be the personality of Godhead. Then you can have an active exchange with him. You can have a relationship with him. He can talk to you and he can instruct you. This is what I want you to do. If you do like this, then our will be one. You will become one with my will. And when that's the case, you're in the spiritual world. When it's not the case, you're in the material world, which is hell. What is hell? Hell is separation from God. If you have free will. So if you turn your will away from God, you become separate from him in consciousness, not in reality. In reality, there is no such thing. We are one with everything. It's a fact. That's just, there's only one thing, it's God and his energy, right? So we are part of God as his energy, so we can't be separated from, but our consciousness can be, and that's called hell, right? And there's various gradations of hell, of separation. Some of them appear very pleasant, right? Heavenly planets, that sounds really nice, wine and women, okay, all day, come on, but you're separated from God. So the purpose of samadhi is to get absorbed back in the eternal world. Okay. And the path to that is compared to an ocean, right? To cross the ocean of that separation, it is a vast expanse because our consciousness is very profound how it has been affected by the material energy, right? If I were to ask you, all right, Jake, let's see it. How about we get into some samadhi today? You're like, yeah, right. How many headstands do you have to do? How many triangle poses before you can get into full samadhi, full, undeviating, concentrated mind. And then once you have that, then you can start meditating. It's like most can't even get meditation. That's what people don't understand about Ashtanga yoga. It's like, it is a sequence. You can't just be like, and now we're going to do dhyana. It's like, what do you mean? Your mind is still, like there are what to speak of asana. You can't start asana until you've you've totally embodied yama and niyama. The restrictions, regulations of yogic lifestyle. But people are, going about through all different illicit activities. And they think, no, I'm going to do some asana and it'll enhance those illicit activities. And I'll meditate so I can have a peaceful mind. So I can even further enhance my illicit activities. I can really suck the enjoyment out of the material world. It's like, well, then what are you going to be meditating on? So meditation should be, to get out of that, because that's the problem. You're meditating on the objects of the material world, and those are sources of misery. So we have an ocean of faults, especially in Kali Yuga. This age that we're in is called an ocean of faults. But there's a very special verse in the Bhagavatam that says, even though Kaler dosha something, that's how it starts. Even though this Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, there's one very auspicious quality, and that is the Harinam Sankirtan movement. Did you know that, Jake? Amidst the ocean of faults.
I did know that. That's and I'm on board with that.
What is that? So what is that?
I'm in. I'm buying in.
You're buying in.
I am.
So what is
no
buying in?
No more Ashtanga or Kundalini yoga for me. I'm a Bhakta. Kundalini
Videos.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, I know.
You're not able to
I feel like every time I do that,
sleep.
we lose like 10 watchers.
So
well.
So what does bhakti do? The Sankirtan movement, what it does is it shrinks that ocean into the size of a calf's the puddle in a calf's hoof print, which is about this big, right? Like about like a silver dollar sized puddle. You can very easily cross that, right? And it situates you on a very secure boats of which the spiritual master is captaining. So very, secure. You just don't jump ship, is the idea. Because it'll take you there. Okay. So simply by meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord, great sages cross over this vast ocean of material existence without difficulty. That's a huge statement. Without difficulty. Like Prabhupada said, what is the difficulty? He was famous for saying that, asking his disciples when they brought some difficulty they're experiencing, some challenge. Oh, Prabhupada, so difficult. My mind isn't letting me chant Hare Krishna, easily. Like, I have this problem, and yeah, I'm averse to absorbing myself. What is the difficulty? It's very simple. Just think about Krishna, hear about Krishna, chant Krishna. You'll be with Krishna. So the point is that if we can absorb ourselves in that, if we can meditate on Krishna, then we are connected with him. And by and by, we will imbibe the qualities of pure goodness. Right? Problem is that our consciousness is polluted. And so we're experiencing the reactions of that. And that makes it difficult that, we have put impediments ourselves, like cart before the horse sort of thing. We've put them there ourselves. We've shot our own foot. So it makes it difficult to walk. But Krishna helps, and at every step, Bhakti Yoga is so easy and sublime. It's not like this Ashtanga path, which is very difficult, and it's not sublime. Sublime means you skip through the middle step, right? You go from solid to gas. You skip through the liquid phase, right? That's what sublimate means in chemistry. So that middle step, that's like what Ashtanga Yoga is doing. It's like it's taking you, it's mechanically transforming your consciousness. It's a mechanical process. Bhakti is not a mechanical process. It's a devotional process. So just by the movement of your heart, which you have full conscious control over, you can't say, I don't have conscious control over my heart, unless you're possessed by demons, which we all kind of are. So we have to recognize that too. But we always have the choice, even amidst legions of demons. I've seen it. I have seen it. Man came to the temple haunted by countless, like untold number of demons, because he did a very sinful thing, and he basically opened a portal, you know, for demons to just enter his subtle body like anything. But he came to the temple and was seeking God's mercy, and he got it. We chanted Hare Krishna, and those demons never visited him again. Hari Bol. He has a family and a stable life now, you know. So there is no difficulty. You know, that's power of bhakti. Doesn't matter what
That's a
position
Krishna
you're in.
miracle right there.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't know what happened to him. You know, he was just this Jamaican man, no idea where he, you know, came from, but he was like sweating from anxiety. It's like thick sweat, you know, anxiety. And you could see in his eyes, like I looked deep into his eyes. I was like, you know, you're a troubled man. And then he left after that. He embraced us all after the kirtan in the temple. Short, you know, not like anything incredible or, you know, fancy, just doing what we do. But we understand this is the potency, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Balaram.
Yes, Prabhu.
Hey, Balaram. Do you know what else is a Krishna miracle? The fact that we made it through this show.
Yeah,
and what a show it's been. My internet is just, bounce around. So I wanted to kind of close it down. And I know we're like,
let me just real quick read this paragraph, because it's just a continuation of the last paragraph and it wouldn't make sense to leave it for the next show. Can I do that?
Sure.
I'll read, because your video might take half an hour for you to go to.
Seriously. There's a branch on my cord. I looked out the window and there it is. Okay. Hanging on the cord like this. Just like that.
Rectify this.
See that?
Just like that.
See that?
Yeah, I see. Yeah. It's just that, huh?
Yeah, just like.
Okay, Haribo. Quote,
I gotta get the ladder out.
The great saintly persons who have crossed over by the help of the transcendental boat of your lotus feet have not taken away that boat. It is still lying on this side. Okay, interesting. If one takes a boat to cross over a river, the boat also goes with one to the other side of the river. And so when one reaches the destination, how can the same boat be available to those who are still on this side? Good point. So if you advance in yoga and you make it to the destination, I can't follow your footsteps because you took the boat with you. To answer this difficulty, the demigods say in their prayer that the boat of the Lord's lotus feet is not taken away. It's always available, right? Bhakti yoga is always available. We can always make that step. The devotees still remaining on this side are able to pass over the ocean of material nature because the pure devotees do not take the boat with them when they cross over. When one simply approaches the boat, the whole ocean of material nations is reduced to the size of the water in a calf's hoof print, i.e., the boat doesn't even need to go anywhere. Therefore, the devotees do not need to take the boat to the other side. They simply cross the ocean immediately. Because the great saintly persons are compassionate toward all conditioned souls, the boat is still lying on this side. In other words, one can meditate upon the lotus feet of the Lord at any time, and by so doing, one can cross over the great ocean of material existence. Hari, Hari, Bol.
Yeah. So that's pretty good.
Yeah. Talk about the good news. You know, that is incredible hope. You know, there's the remedy. Here's our situation. Very difficult. The conundrum we've put ourselves in by associating with the material modes. namely passion and ignorance, and getting all spellbound in that even amidst that, granny knot in the heart, that very simply that knot can be undone. And that no matter how bad it is out there, no matter what hell that you're in, you can always think of God. And this Hare Krishna movement has made that very, very simple, straightforward, scientific, intelligible. Just his names. Here are his names. Just chant like this. Pray like this. The demigods are showing. Just read this book. And by doing so, you will make these prayers, the very prayers that the highest intelligence in the universe, these most intelligent beings are making. So you can't go wrong if you follow their lead. You literally cannot go wrong. So that is why we read this book. That is the shelter that it's giving us. And that will bestow all perfection.
Yeah. Well, let's get some of those holy names rolling right now.
Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Thank you so much for watching our show, and thank you for dealing with our technical things. Like, subscribe, and all that good stuff on YouTube. Balaram, you look good. You sound good. I'm going to get the ladder out right now and fix it. It won't be a problem tomorrow, sir.
Okay. I'll have to let you know. Okay.
I like, you guys are like